All right, folks, let's talk about this new moon in Virgo that we have on September the 2nd. Now, it's on September the 2nd, 6:56 p.m. for me, and that's Pacific time. So for a lot of us, for most of us, I think we're going to feel and register the new moon in Virgo by Tuesday morning. Now, it's going to be Tuesday morning for some of you automatically, depending on which part of the world that you're in, but considering Pacific time, and if we're looking at North America or we're looking at the Americas, by the time it actually registers and we're awake, we'll wake up on Tuesday morning and the new moon will have occurred. Now, as I've said in my last couple of videos, just be prepared that as you head into this weekend and as you head into Monday, energy may be low. The moon is dark. I'm not going to re-emphasize that. We're certainly getting to that place. Indeed, it's an interesting time to do the new moon video. It feels a little premature because I'm used to actually doing the new moon video after the new moon occurs. But, if I look around on YouTube, etc., the trend is actually to put out the new, the new moon video almost sometimes a week to 2 weeks in advance. And it feels like you may as well get it out there because there's something coming off of Mercury retrograde. Mercury technically went direct yesterday. It's still pretty stationary as far as I'm concerned, as far as we all are concerned. And really, it's going to be by the weekend that it's going to start to show some momentum. And it's going to be not only, and matters related to the houses ruled by Mercury, as I said in my last couple of videos, also going to, by next week, start to show greater action, traction, greater communications, and greater transactions. So we are in this Mercury stationary week right now, but by the time the new moon occurs, the wind will be behind our sails. And while Mercury is still slow, it is direct, and Mercury is ruling the new moon in Virgo. So, rules the new moon in Virgo. So that's what we're going to deal with. Sorry. As it is, I'm going to fiddle with my blinds and the breeze and all that kind of good stuff. So, new moon in Virgo. As we get to the new moon in Virgo, the timing of what I'm doing right now, you know what? It's going to drive me crazy. I'm going to close the window. Thank you. Why I don't do that automatically by now, I don't know. But, you all know I'm a diehard when it comes to making changes to habits. So I finally, hopefully that will be the epiphany that I need to have. And moving forward, I will just keep my window closed. And if it gets too warm, I'll turn on the air conditioning. More than you ever wanted to know. I'm doing this video on August the 29th, 2024, and the moon is in Cancer. The moon tomorrow for me is going to go into Leo, and then eventually we'll go into Virgo, and we will have the new moon in Virgo by Monday evening, Pacific time. It is kind of nice to be doing this video now because what it allows me to do, as it allows us all to be in contemplation about the fact that as the moon enters the sign of Leo, it is going to be closing out the month of Leo before the moon goes into Virgo and forms the new moon. Does that make sense? Leo is the sign before Virgo, and the last new moon that we had on August the 4th was in Leo. So as the moon creates the new moon in Leo, for example, on August the 4th, and goes around and becomes full in Aquarius, as it did around August the 19th, and then starts to become smaller and smaller and smaller, before it goes into Virgo, it is going to go over Leo. And it's going to start that process tomorrow. The moon is going to be relatively dark and it's going to be darkening, and so we can look at this time period when the moon is actually going through Leo as a time when it's going to release the last month. It'll be interesting over the next 48 to 72 hours what comes up and what gets closed out, in a sense, related to what the month of August has been about. So just watch for that energy as well. The moon is wrapping up the month, this past month in Leo, since August the 4th to September the 2nd over the next 72 hours. Then it enters Virgo, and then it creates the new moon, and the new month of Virgo starts on September the 2nd. It's been an odd month of Leo, as we know. We had the new moon on August the 2nd, but then August the 4th, we had Mercury going retrograde. And it might be an interesting few days of closing out Leo. Is there a possibility that now that Mercury is direct, certain things that we thought were true while Mercury was retrograde now present themselves a little differently? Certain things we thought that were open now, or certain things that were presented to us, the details about it get changed? Do the details get clarified? Does it feel like, no, we really are releasing what we know about our month in Leo? This particular month closing of Leo might feel a little unusual because we've got Mercury going direct after for most of the month of August it has been retrograde. And so it's going to give you one of two messages. We're releasing the month, what we know about the month of August, what we know about the month of Leo holds true, and we're done with it. And we're dotting that I and crossing that T and moving forward. Or else there is a possibility over the next 72 hours that something comes up that feels like, oh, the month of Leo never really got started. And if it got started in a way that was never completely conclusive. If you had Mercury retrograde in your birth chart, you were in decision-making, conclusive mode. If you have Mercury direct in your birth chart, you were trying to get a sense of what Mercury retrograde was trying to reveal to you as actually happening, actually real, actually something you need to go back to the drawing board with to readjust your plans or your timelines. So August, as we know, was a month of pausing, and August was also a month of reality checks. Something leading you to something conclusive if you have Mercury direct in your birth chart, something leading you to going back to the drawing board if you have Mercury direct in your birth chart. But since the moon goes into Leo, wrapping up the last month of August, just after Mercury has become stationary and is starting to move direct, it begs the question, typically when a month is ending, right before the next new moon, there's a feeling that whatever came up during that month is reaching some sort of closure, some sort of release before the next month takes over, before the next new moon takes over. This time around, I wonder whether it's going to be either that, or whether there's going to be a sense now that Mercury is direct, that certain things that we may have thought were closed or opened, or certain facts or certain details related to August, over the next few days, as the week comes to an end, present themselves in a slightly different light. Either the details change, or something that we thought was a no becomes a, oh, we've changed our mind, or something we thought was a yes becomes a, oh, we've changed our mind. So just to watch, I think that this is even more pronounced as we get past September the 2nd. As Mercury is direct and start to gain greater velocity, and we have the new moon occur in Virgo, I think even the Leo part of the chart can finally start to show some traction and some action and some energy and some direction. If you have Mercury retrograde in your birth chart, as you get past Mercury retrograde, you're going to be in a place where you're going to be looking to implement on the decisions you made while Mercury was retrograde. If you have Mercury direct in your birth chart, you are going to be looking now to take a deep breath, understand, deal with, for some people who have Mercury direct in their birth chart, deal with the disappointing realization of what has a future and what does not have a future. Go back to the drawing board, adjust your plans and timelines, and then start executing on that. We're all in execution mode after September the 2nd, after the new moon in Virgo. And that new moon in Virgo provides greater forward movement, not only to issues and items related to the sign of Virgo, but also to the sign of Leo. So, in your chart, the houses occupied by the signs of Virgo and Leo. And that is because we had the new moon in Leo on August the 4th, but when August the 2nd, I think, August the 4th, my darlings, August the 4th, on the same day when Mercury went retrograde. Mercury was stationary at the time of the new moon in Leo. So matters related to both the houses occupied by Leo and, of course, Virgo, because it's a new moon in Virgo, stand to move forward more decisively and more clearly after September the 2nd. And for those of you who have Mercury direct in your birth chart, there could be an adjustment between what was told to you while Mercury was retrograde and now that Mercury is direct and things are moving forward. Certain details may shift around. So coming back to the point I was making while I went on to this kind of chat, the bottom line is, as the Leo month comes to a close and the moon enters Leo and is in Leo for the next 2 or 3 days, unlike other month closings when the moon is dark in the sign where the last new moon was, it may be that for some of us, we're closing out and getting confirmation on and releasing what has been true for us or emerged as being true for us during the month of August while Mercury was retrograde. But for some of us, a little bit unusually, we may actually get that things are changing and shifting that we thought were true and decided during the month of August, because now a retrograde Mercury is going direct. Okay? Energetically, the Virgo new moon is a much longed for new moon, because it opens up this direct arc between September 2nd, as I've been saying to you in my videos. And I've done a whole video on September through the end of the first week of June a few videos ago. I'll place a link to that at the end of this video. September 2nd to the end of the first week of June next year is one arc that finally gets to move us in the direction that the North Node eclipses in Aries have been trying to take us since April 19th of 2023. Now, with the North Node eclipses, it's an open question. Are we going to end up in the place where we think we've been going to and been trying to go to? Are we going to remain where we are, but integrating those experiences somehow? Open question. We're going to wait and see how it all transforms. Certainly right now, as we enter September the 2nd, it would really surprise me if we don't at least try to start to move in the direction that we have been trying to move towards, symbolized by the North Node eclipses in the Aries part of the chart since April 19th of 2023. But there's been a stop and a start process, and a stop and a start process, a stop, start, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And by the way, from September the 2nd, I could say from August the 30th or so, Mercury direct and slowly starting to move forward, certainly the September 2nd Virgo new moon, to all the way until Mercury goes retrograde next in November, on November 26th. So let's say that till about November 22nd, it's forward movement time again, similar to May, June, July that we had. Forward movement. Personal planets are all moving forward, and they will gather speed. Mars will start to slow down as we head towards, we'll cover Mars in detail as we head towards November, but let's at least look at September and October as unqualified forward movement, with that continuing into November. I'm going to have to do a video that addresses Mars retrograde very, very shortly, because Mars enters the sign of Cancer in a few days on what am I doing? Sorry. On September the 4th. So prior to that, I'd like to get a video out on the Mars retrograde, because remember, Mars is going to enter Cancer, enter Leo, go retrograde in December, retrograde through Leo into Cancer, go direct in Cancer, and then go through Cancer and into Leo. So Mars, who typically spends 45 days in each sign, is going to be spending from September the 4th to the middle of June, I think, in just 2 signs, Cancer and Leo. And we do need to look at that, and we will. But after September the 2nd, at least during September and October, and for much of November, it is forward movement time. Those of you who've had Mercury retrograde in your birth chart will be implementing accordingly. Plans may need to be adjusted because people around you, a lot of them have Mercury direct in their birth chart, so they're going to be reconfiguring in their own ways. Those of us who have Mercury direct in our birth charts, as I said, will need to incorporate what it is that Mercury retrograde has given us a reality check about. Not hopefully be in too much denial around that. Wait and see as Mercury starts to go direct for the next week and a half while Mercury is going through its shadow degrees till September the 11th. What, if anything, that came up during the month of August in terms of details gets readjusted? And certainly by September 11th, I still think at the very least, I have a feeling that things related to timelines or what is actually possible, what is feasible, what's going, we've received a bit of reality check and we go back to the drawing board and we start acting on it. September 2nd to the end of the first week of June, implementation time related to where the Aries North Node eclipses are taking us. And right now we may not have a destination clearly demarcated, but we may still be keen to move in the direction outlined by whatever it is that we have been trying to move towards, symbolized by the Aries part of the chart and the North Node eclipses in Aries since April 19th, even March, maybe about March 20th or so, 21st of 2023, because in March and April we had 2 new moons in Aries. The second one on April 19th was a solar eclipse. September, October, November forward movement. But even there, we have an interesting set of distinctions in a way that we did not necessarily have in May, June, and July that just passed, where we had sort of unqualified forward movement. September feels very much, when I was a child, we used to have these kind of frames in which you could display photographs that were like diptychs. They were attached on a hinge. They were like doors or windows, and they would open up and you could put a photograph here and a photograph here. September and October have that kind of feeling, where October is the Mercury retrograde month and September is the Mercury now direct month. But there's a lot there that's related, and a lot is characterized by the personal planets moving through the sign of Virgo, and particularly opposing Saturn and Neptune during this time. When we get to October, we're going to be influenced by the October 2nd solar eclipse, which is a solar eclipse of release in Libra. And all of a sudden, October 2nd to December 2nd, the tenor of the forward movement will change because it will become reminiscent of what the middle of October of 23 to the end of March of 24 felt like, because that was the last eclipse cycle in Libra that we had. Eclipses of release, South Node eclipses. We are releasing something in the Libra part of the chart, in the house occupied by Libra in your chart, to move towards, to experience growth in the house occupied by Aries in our chart, all the way to the end of June 2025. But October 2nd to December 2nd especially is a time of release. So does something come up in September? An opening, a portal, an opportunity that you pursue or that becomes manifest or that provides ignition as a result of this Virgo new moon, that could be related to either decisiveness, if you were Mercury retrograde in your birth chart during this Mercury retrograde period in August, or your own something shifts, something changes, something can finally move forward if you have Mercury direct in your birth chart. And I'm going to expand on this in a second. The ignition is provided by September, but what is going on in September is still related to August in some ways. And whatever that ignition is then motivates us to release what we need to release in the Libra part of the chart from October 2nd to December 2nd. On November 25th, 26th, Mercury goes retrograde again, time for the next reality check. But more importantly, after that, we go into Mars retrograde around December the 6th. And then after Mars goes direct on February the 24th, within a week, Venus goes retrograde and Mercury goes retrograde. Well, Venus goes retrograde on March the 2nd next year and Mercury retrograde on March the 15th. And then Venus goes direct April the 13th. Actually, Mercury goes direct April the 7th. Venus goes direct April the 13th. Mars re-enters Leo on April the 18th. And after the middle of April, forward movement again. Because then we don't experience the next retrograde, which is a Mercury retrograde, till July 18th. So forward movement in September that provides some sort of ignition, motivation. Forward movement in October and November, but may well change in tone, because if September provides an ignition to go in a certain direction, October and November may be about, well, what do we need to release in the Libra part of the chart to help us continue to move forward into the Aries part of the chart? And then we enter really the heart of the birth canal in December, January, February, March, and April. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. For some reason, the change that we are contemplating and trying to create is significant enough that we can't just summon our broomstick, hop onto it, and get to our destination. There's a dealing with solidifying and stabilizing the new, so that when we actually inhabit it or land in it, it can sustain us. And there is a systematic and possibly time-consuming releasing of the past that occurs in December, January, February, March. And there are all sorts of interesting readjustments during that time that will occur. March 29th, we have the last solar eclipse in Aries, and this Aries Libra eclipse go around. Both Mercury and Venus are retrograde during that time. So we may not feel that eclipse really build momentum until we get to the 3rd and 4th weeks of April, once the personal planets are direct. And 2 months after that solar eclipse on March the 29th takes us to May the 29th. That is why I'm saying at least till the end of the first week of June, these changes keep rolling out. The new moon in Virgo opposes Saturn. Somewhat loosely, a little over 5 degrees, but it opposes Saturn. This is a theme that we've been dealing with a lot. And my last 2 videos, both the weekly overview, but particularly this last video that I did, and this last video that I did has some information that very much talks to the heart of these personal planets moving through Virgo. And I've done a video even previously that's a broader overview of the Sun, Venus, and Mercury going through Virgo. Because as the personal planets go through Virgo, they do make, in particular, one harmonious, they make 2 harmonious transits. They make 2 trines that are worth talking about. Trining Uranus and Taurus from Virgo, and trining Pluto in Capricorn from Virgo. Venus does not do that, but the Sun and Mercury will. And by the time we get to the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces, which is the full moon related to this new moon in Virgo, on September 17th, the Sun will be trining Uranus and trining Pluto. But these personal planets also oppose Saturn in Pisces and Neptune in Pisces. Venus opposed Venus. This is what the weekly video was about, and this is what my last video was about. Venus opposing Neptune. And now we have a new moon opposing Saturn. By the time we get to the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces on September 17th, the Sun will be opposing Neptune. We're going to have a full moon lunar eclipse conjunct Neptune, which means the Sun will oppose Neptune. And a week after that, Mercury will oppose Neptune, prior to which Mercury will oppose Saturn. Whatever is being created as an opportunity and whatever gets to start to move forward as a result of this new moon in Virgo can create an opportunity for you to stabilize the sign of Pisces in your chart, where you've heard me say this like a broken record, there might have been a crisis in Pisces since 2012 that peaked around 14, 15, 16, 17. Something gets to be ignited as a result of this new moon that allows you to capitalize on the opportunities that Venus may have brought you during August while Mercury was retrograde. And now that Mercury is direct, you might be able to take advantage of those opportunities, the awareness of those opportunities. You may build on them, but it may be that the final bit of action related to them, communications, contracts, commitments, does not really start to occur until Mercury enters Virgo on September the 9th. So September the 2nd, new moon in Virgo. September the 9th, Mercury comes into Virgo. And by that time, Mercury is moving forward. It's gathered momentum. But whatever it is that you start to cultivate, harvest, invest in, grow, take advantage of, that Venus has been trying to create in the sign of Virgo during the month of August, you may end up using it to help stabilize the Pisces part of your chart. That is the best and the highest possible use of what you could do with it. You're going to need to. It's opposing Saturn. Saturn has a hold on. Saturn has a lean on. Saturn has taken this new moon into custody. But it's not a bad thing, because we're looking for ways and means emotionally, with regard to our values, with regard to our self-esteem and a sense of self-worth, with regard to what we're trying to build. We're looking for concrete ways to address the crisis in Pisces. Whether that crisis is created by wanting to move, you've heard me say this tons of times before, in a spiritual or artistic direction in the Pisces part of the chart, the house occupied by Pisces. And so now you get to put some structure around those plans. Or you've been dealing with or participating in foggy behavior that leads to loss, a lack of clarity, gaslighting, deception, theft, a lack of clarity. And Saturn's like, enough is enough since March 23, but especially during 24. Here are the facts. Here's what's going on. Here's what's needed. Here's how we create stability. Here's how we cut our losses. Here's how we build a strong foundation in this part of the chart. The personal planets transits through Virgo symbolize opportunity by the trines to Uranus and the trines to Pluto. Earth signs trines. Earth signs trines. Venus in Virgo, Uranus in Taurus, Pluto in Capricorn, at least for the Sun and Mercury. But whatever the opportunity is, also has to feed into stabilizing the Pisces part of the chart. And all in all, this is a happy situation because we're looking for reserves and resources to allow us to do so. Now, these reserves and resources and what the new moon and Virgo bring up could be one of two things or a mixture of both. One is that Venus during the month of August may have brought, and may continue to, may have brought financial, relationship, creative opportunities that she planted some seeds and created some openings around. Whether they're visible yet or not visible yet. Whether you were able to act on them and be decisive about them while Mercury was retrograde or not. Whether details about them shift, especially over the next week and a half through September 11th, needs to be seen. Will a no turn into a yes? Will a yes turn into a no between August and September? Will details shift? We're going to let Mercury go direct as it did yesterday. We're going to let it gather some speed, and we're going to let things collapse into place. It doesn't typically take that long. After Mercury goes direct, within a few days, we have a tendency to kind of know what is shifting. But you never know. We have a new moon. And next week, we have some aspects coming up that, again, talk to opportunity again. So it'll be really interesting to see how things shift between this August-September mirroring of each other that they're going to do. What is going to get ignited in September? One of two things that could get ignited is an external opportunity or set of opportunities that makes you feel like, okay, I'm going to work on this, I'm going to go in this direction, and this is going to help move me forward in this desired direction that I've been trying to go in since April of 23, March, April of 23. Another possibility is that you decide internally, especially building on the Mercury retrograde in August, that opportunity or no opportunity, you are moving forward in some direction because the status quo cannot remain the same. And with all the stops and starts and stops and starts, and moving forward and then coming back to release and moving forward and releasing, and that we've been experiencing since March, April, you might get to a point where you just feel like, you know what, I'm going to make one more go for it. And let's just see. September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. Hey guys, I mean, I've been referring to this time as a birth canal. That's 9 months right there. September to the end of May. I've been saying end of first week of June. That's 9 months. In September, as a result of this new moon, you might just go, I am going to see, I'm going to give this one final 9 to 10 month push. And I'll co-create with the universe. The universe will make clear for me, where am I staying? Where am I going? What am I doing? Do I get to where I am? Do I incorporate everything? You know, what it all looks like. But there's a feeling, especially after this last Mercury retrograde, clarity around what you get to move towards. As I've said, which baskets you continue to invest in, which baskets you don't continue to invest in. I understand and I respect that this is a general reading. So when I talk about things like the crisis in Pisces, the direction you've been trying to move in since April, this is the best, or the Aries part of your chart. I'm not talking to you into, I don't have your detail. So just, I feel like I'm being still pretty specific given how general, you know, given the fact that I'm talking into a phone. Irrespective. You know that, I knew that. I'm just very aware of what I'm saying, and I felt like, do your best to translate this and see if it resonates. And if it does, great. If it does not, got it. Release. I'm not even sure that that disclaimer is necessary. Anyway, I'm not going down this train of thought anymore. Let's get back to the astrology. Either an opportunity or a set of opportunities creates the ignition in September, or you create your own ignition and say opportunity or no opportunities. I'm clear about how and where I have been decisive during August, and I'm going to start to implement my plans and adjust them as they go along. That is true, especially if you have Mercury retrograde in your birth chart. If you have Mercury direct in your birth chart, the narrative might be, I now feel clear, in some situations regrettably clear, in some situations disappointingly and still in resistance clear about what is still in the offing and which doors are open and which doors are closed. I am clear that some of this might change or switch in the first week of September or in the next few days, and I'll wait and see if it does or not. But irrespective, I'm going to provide my own ignition, and I'm going to start to move towards something and accelerate something and build something. understanding that it might be a 10-month process, because the status quo of what this is our final, this is our push, recognizing that October 2nd to December 2nd, again, we go into the energy of release. Remember, last year in 2023, there was a sense of expansion between April all the way to July, August. Then September, Mercury went retrograde. And then middle of October, we had the eclipses of release, and we were like, oh, I thought I was actually going to a destination, but all of a sudden it's blocked. But it wasn't really blocked, because what it was doing was it was bringing awareness and saying, look, you're trying to get somewhere, but you've also got to tackle what needs to be released in order to get somewhere. It's a bigger change. It's not just, I'm going to click my heels and be transported somewhere. I'm going to actually have to make this change happen. So on a macro perspective, this much awaited September 2nd new moon provides our entry into this portal of forward movement, to be sure, till the middle of November, with the tenor of the forward moving changing as we enter October. Some of which is actually encoded into this new moon, and I'll talk about that in a second. And then a series of revisions, revising how we're going about our plans, our goals when Mars goes retrograde. Well, first we have a Mercury retrograde, end November to mid-December. Then, end of the first week of December, Mars goes retrograde. How are we going after what it is that we want? What about our goals and how we're going after our goals and how we're managing our boundaries and conflict needs to be revised, reviewed, relooked at. Then Mercury and Venus go retrograde in March into the middle of April. Are our resources and relationships aligned with what we're trying to build? What further reality checks are needed? And then as we head to the end of April, it's like, all right, between the end of April and the end of the first week of June, we can put the final touches in place. But the September 2nd new moon starts to move us through that process. And the personal planets transits through the sign of Virgo have portals of opportunities with the trines to Uranus and Pluto, but whatever is being created in September may well also be used as a resource to help stabilize the Pisces part of the chart. It will be necessary. It will be demanded. It will almost feel like a godsend, because if you've been trying to stabilize certain things, and the stabilization opportunity can come from two places: an actual opportunity, financial, relationship, job, creative, something concrete, or your own resolve and sense of self-worth might actually build on what Venus has been doing for the past 2 or 3 days. Take a look at the last video I did just before this. I'll put a link to that at the end of this as well. You might build on and just be like, you know what? I am giving this a shot. I'm moving the direction that I want to move in. And Neptune, I'm clear about what Neptune may want me to release in the Pisces part of the chart, but there are certain other things that I'm going to stabilize, clarify, and start to put some structure around. Whether concrete opportunity shows up in order to help you do that, or whether you resolve to create the platform and manifest the opportunities for yourself and create and go after opportunities that allow you to do that. It may very well also just be that you reach a point of emotional decisiveness, tapping into your sense of self-worth to say, now I have had enough of the crisis in Pisces, and I am going to push towards some definition. Saturn is still in the Pisces part of the chart till January, February 2026. And the North Node eclipses in Pisces continue till the beginning of 2027. The stabilization part of it, stabilizing the crisis in Pisces, for me, ends when Saturn and Neptune move out of Pisces together in the beginning of 2026. I think the North Node eclipses in Pisces are about something else in the Pisces part of the chart. They'll work together, but I think that's a different narrative. They could be connected. So the new moon in Virgo, its place on a 9 to 10 month cycle, its place with regard to it opposing Saturn, the mutual reception between Mercury, the ruler of the new moon, moving forward, finally, direct, slowly, but direct. And Mercury in Leo, ruled by the Sun in Virgo, ruled by Mercury, and Mercury and the Sun in the Leo and the Virgo part of the chart in mutual reception. Matters related to the Leo and the Virgo part of the chart start to move forward. Matters related to the Virgo and the Gemini part of the chart start to move forward. This Mercury, like all Mercury retrogrades, depending on your birth chart and which house is occupied by Virgo and Gemini, Mercury retrograde, that's the part of the chart that every 3 months needs a bit of those are the parts that needs a bit of a refresh. There's the Gemini and Virgo parts of our chart in our birth charts every 3 months need a bit of going back over and then going forward, going back over and then going forward. In the middle of everything with this Mercury retrograde, like with all Mercury retrogrades, that also has happened and is coming to an end, and we get to move forward now, which will help Mars and Jupiter and the Gemini part of the chart. Speaking of which, the 4 aspects that are encoded into this new moon are Mars squaring Neptune. This is why I did 2 videos. I did a weekly overview and I did the last video on Mars square Neptune. The whole Venus opposing Neptune and trining Uranus and trining Pluto and Mars getting ready to square Neptune. I mean, really, I was just determined to crack that interpretively, and it's in the last video that I feel like I was like, okay. And the Mars-Neptune square happens within just a little over 2 hours after the new moon. So it is very clearly and very firmly encoded into September, into this new moon cycle, into this month. A direct Mercury, just off of the trine to Chiron. Mercury, when Mercury was retrograde, there were 2 aspects that it made 3 times. Direct, retrograde, direct. Trining Chiron in Aries and squaring Uranus in Taurus. Mercury trines Chiron on September the 2nd, on the day of the new moon, but before the new moon, but that's fine. But then Mercury gets ready to trine Uranus on September the 5th, I think. So the Mercury trine Uranus, Mercury square Uranus, Mercury in Leo squaring Uranus in Taurus is also encoded, 2 squares encoded into this new moon. Dynamic, action-oriented month of September. There is a trine operating in the background that does not really start to manifest until we head into 2026, and that is Uranus in Taurus trining Pluto, which is just tomorrow going to enter Capricorn. Pluto's retrograde is going to enter Capricorn for a couple of months only, final times, and then clear it in November to enter Aquarius for another 18, 19 years. But this trine between Uranus and Pluto only becomes exact once Uranus is in Gemini and Pluto's in Aquarius. But right now, they're awfully close to each other. And what they're really reminding me of, again, they're reminding me of, you know, they're reminding me of late 2022, late 2023, when the planets have entered Capricorn and Mercury has gone retrograde, and when the personal planets were going through Capricorn, particularly last year in 23, they were really supporting not only Uranus in Taurus, but actually even in 2022, they were supporting the North Node in Taurus and Uranus in Taurus. At the end of 2023, they were supporting Jupiter in Taurus and the North Node, and Uranus in Taurus. The personal planets transits through Capricorn are very, very supportive. As you know, as I've been saying, the opportunity in our charts is symbolized by the Aries, Taurus, and Gemini parts of our chart, the houses occupied by those three signs. And just as the personal planets, Venus this week, the Sun as we head to the September 17th eclipse, Mercury the week after, just as the Sun and Mercury now, during this Virgo new moon month, are going to be trining Pluto and Uranus. Pluto and Uranus also sort of giving each other a supportive vibe to say September is indeed a month of ignition and igniting something that has been developing as the North Node went through Taurus. And we had the North Node eclipses exercising the influence from August, September 21 to October 23, as Jupiter went through Taurus. May 23 to May 25th, 2024. Uranus is currently in Taurus. The right direction for us in the Taurus part of the chart and the transformation of the Pluto, of the Capricorn part of the chart, are linked. And that's not where it becomes exact, but they are energetically supporting each other at this time. Finally, and intriguingly, the fourth aspect that is encoded is that Venus is conjuncting the South Node in Libra. Venus enters Libra today, I think. Yeah, Venus enters Libra today on the 29th. And on the 4th of September, Venus conjuncts the South Node. Now, what conversation do you think Venus and the South Node are going to have with each other as they meet up for tea or coffee? The South Node is the point in the Libra part of the chart where we need to release something in order to move into a certain direction in the Aries part of the chart. And on October the 2nd, a month after this new moon, on September the 2nd, we have a solar eclipse in Libra related to this release process. Venus is a planet of luck, blessings, opportunities, financial opportunities, relationship opportunities, the nexus between the two. She is our resources. She is our day-to-day, the day-to-day grease that get, but not just that, the day-to-day blessings that we get that keep us going forward, that make us feel like, oh, something is happening. There is something that I can hook my hope to. So, one of two things. Does Venus conjunct the South Node point to something of value that you need to release in the Libra part of the chart? I think it's possible that in September something comes up. Again, either an external opportunity that could have been brewing in August that either changes direction or comes up, or your own internal resolve to commit to and create change over the next 9 to 10 months that you ignite and inaugurate after September the 2nd. You commit to. You just get on the horse. knowing that with all the energetic changes that will come, even starting October, even November, December, January, February, March, April, that you are not going to get off that horse unless it feels like a direct communication from Spirit to say, this is what this entire period since April the 19th, March, April 2023 has been about. This is what Spirit has been partnering with us to create. But we're going to either an opportunity or ourselves going to get in the horse in order to do that. I think Venus conjunct the Source South Node is that commitment, that identification. Based with Venus, our sense of self-worth and what we value becomes paramount, becomes important, becomes significant. So either an opportunity comes along as a result of this new moon that gets us to identify how we're going to move towards the Aries part of the chart and the direction that we may have been wanting to move towards in creating this new reality that we've been trying to create for ourselves since March, April of last year. Don't be too quick to be attached to specifically how it looks. Let the next 9-10 months give you the appropriate color for what is the best outcome for you in that direction. Sometimes an outcome is actually going from A to Z. Sometimes an outcome is being able to have access to A and Z. Sometimes the outcome is I'm going to incorporate everything that I got as a result of thinking about moving towards Z, but I'm staying in A. I find the third one a little bit unlikely, but it's possible. Leave room for even that. But I am willing to, I think we're going to enter September going, well, I am moving towards Z, which is what I've been trying to move towards since March, April of last year. And let's see what the co-creation with Spirit is actually going to get to. I'm not going to get too attached to the outcome because I don't want to miss out for what is the ideal solution for me. And why should I give up on something in a certain way when there might be opportunity for it there? So can A and Z work together? But September starts to move us forward, and the Venus South Node conjunction for me indicates the possibility of us identifying an opportunity or an opportunity coming to us, or us identifying what we value in such a way that we commit to what we're going to release over the next couple of months, especially after October the 2nd, after the new moon solar eclipse occurs in Libra. That's why I said earlier in this video, something about the October 2nd eclipse, actually the conversation begins in September with this Venus South Node conjunction. There's one other aspect that occurs on September the 7th, I think, that is very, 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 very important in everything that we're talking about. And that is the Sun finally opposes Saturn. We have a full Saturn. Now, as I said, the new moon occurs on September the 2nd. And as I said, it is opposite Saturn. So we've already covered it. But I do want to let you know that as you head towards the end of the first week of September, internally, this idea of what you are going to do to stabilize the Pisces part of your chart is going to take up a lot of internal, solar, intuitive, at a soul level awareness. What are you going to do? Are you going to pursue and create a new reality where whatever it is that the new moon in Virgo is bringing and whatever's starting to move forward in the Leo and Virgo part of the charts, are you going to pursue it knowing that it might get you in the Aries direction, but also help stabilize the Pisces direction? And it's like you gain that awareness of what the game plan is for the next 9 or 10 months. But you also gain the awareness for what you're going to ignite and pursue during this Virgo month of September 2nd to October 2nd. The Sun, solar plexus, it's just this total spotlight, every nook and cranny, full Saturn. The sun is just like a full moon. And those of you who have Saturn retrograde in your birth charts are really going to feel the full Saturn because Saturn is retrograde now. What does Saturn want you to sort out and implement? How does Saturn want you to act responsibly? And if you have not quite gotten there, beware that the Sun opposite Saturn may bring something up that forces you to pay attention to it. You are already in a place, I think we all are, psychically, psychologically, that we're ready to stabilize. So it's just gonna be one of those things that it may be that you just haven't gotten to something yet, and something comes to, in a Saturnian way, kind of bite you in a part of your anatomy that you're just like, I was getting to it. Do I really need this? And you're forced to put attention into something to try and stabilize it. More than anything else, the awareness that whether it is your own sense of self-worth and sense of resolve that finally wants to take on, assists Saturn in helping Neptune complete its nebulous transit through Pisces. Finally gain some understanding as to what Neptune is trying to say you need to sacrifice in the Pisces part of the chart and renounce. And it's not for you anyway. And it's not going to be helpful. But Neptune's way of causing spiritual growth is just so unnecessarily draining. But so powerful, so powerful, so powerful. So truly connecting us to spirit, so truly connecting us to the ultimate truth that whatever's playing out here in material reality is really just all a game. And we really are ending up, all of us, in the same place with nothing. All of that said, I think we're kind of done with the BS that Neptune has been giving us in the Pisces part of the chart. The lessons are going to be learned. The sacrifices are going to be made. Pisces is going to be stabilized. And whether through external opportunities, the pursuit of which, or whether your own resolve to go ahead and start to make a certain change and start to address the stabilization of the Pisces part of the chart, after the September 2nd new moon, you're really going to find that you are, as you head towards September the 7th and you have a full Saturn, you're going to be very, very present to that awareness, that requirement. Saturn is going to be very, very clear, totally visible and transparent about how he wants us to act for our own benefit, responsibly, maturely, wisely, strategically, to stabilize the Pisces part of the chart. You could even decide that you're going to take some action, shortly after the new moon proactively to start to manage certain things related to that as you head towards the eclipse on the 17th, kind of grow accordingly. Again, September is a month of opportunity, whether it is created through your internal resolve or by building on opportunities that came up for you in August or may come up for you in September. It's a final push. It is a whatever happened last year that blocked, it's the, I'm not going to say it's ripping off a Band-Aid because that implies speed. It is, it's more like we are aware that it's going to take steps to get us from A to Z, or a way to integrate A and Z, or whatever it is that has been pulling at us with the North Node eclipses in Aries since March, April of last year. And we're going to give it that final push as a result of this new moon in Virgo. There's something about it that opens up and connects us to the right path for us in the Taurus part of our chart that Uranus has been trying to create and the North Node and Jupiter have been working on for the past few years. There's something about what happens through the Virgo new moon that connects us to the transformations that Pluto may have made for us, how Pluto may have liberated us in some ways between January 20th and February 20th of this year when it entered Aquarius and the personal planets conjuncted it during that time. And also what Pluto has been trying to transform for us since 2008 in the Capricorn part of the chart. But whatever the opportunity is, it is also absolutely, without a doubt, during September, going to be made clear to us that that opportunity or our own internal resolve is going to be needed to commit to stabilize the Pisces part of the chart. The new moon in Virgo is opportunity and ignition laden. Things may not move forward quite with the speed in this new moon because Mercury is direct but still a little slow. By the time we get to October 2nd and we're dealing with the South Node solar eclipse in Libra, it is all systems go. And it is all systems go because the emphasis is on releasing what we need to release in the Libra part of the chart once and for all, so we can start to move towards the Aries part of the chart. And the only reason why we were able to do it is because September and the new moon in Virgo have provided us either with the internal motivation or the external opportunity that we can hook onto that helps us move in that direction. With Mercury now direct, fortunately, matters related to the Virgo and the matters related to the new moon in Leo and the Leo month of August, and even the Virgo month, and the opportunities that Venus has been trying to kind of sow seeds on during August to get to move forward, but also the opportunities related to the Mercury-ruled houses, Virgo, of course, where the new moon is, but also Gemini, where Jupiter's trying to end a 12-13 cycle, create a 12-13 cycle, where Mars has been dealing with, I think, past issues and kind of really focused on what needs to end in the Gemini part of the chart to create a new beginning. Now that gets to move forward as well. The moving forward may allow you to act on certain things in the Gemini part of the chart related to those endings that you may have held back on while Mercury was retrograde, because you may have felt like, well, I don't want to communicate now. I don't want to act on this now. Shall I, shan't I? What's happening? What is kind of hidden and behind the scenes as time goes on during September, October, November will become more visible and can be dealt with. The other factor as time goes on in September and October and November that we will cover probably in our next video is Mars going through Cancer and Leo for months. September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, June, another 9 months, as opposed to 45 days. 90 days if you want to count the two signs. All right, my dears, I am still doing the 30-minute single topic, single area focus readings for $50. The last few of these that I did, I finally feel like I cracked this format. So my gratitude. Now that doesn't mean that if you had these readings with me before that what you got was deficient in any way. Please know that. If anything, it may have actually been excessive, because you know, as I've been talking about those readings on this channel, what I've been trying to get to is an efficiency to them. And in getting the efficiency, and that doesn't mean the feedback I got this week from I was like, all right, now I know. And a lot of it just has to do with, and none of you as clients has deliberately pushed me into other arenas. It's just me being efficient and honoring the time we've all committed to. So thank you very much. But please know that those readings are still available. I would still like to continue to provide, if you want to just kind of bring up or discuss one question, one area of your chart, one topic, I'm offering a 30-minute, reading for $50. And I'm also offering my normal readings. So if you are interested in any of those, My email address is in the description box below. You can email me there for information. I can send you information accordingly. There's a thanks button at the bottom of this video. You can use that to contribute to the channel. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And click on the bell icon next to the subscribe button. If you hover over that, there's a wiggly bell on top. Click on that. You'll be notified when I do new videos. Share this video or information about the channel with anyone who you might find this content useful. I don't think that sentence made sense in English, but I think it made sense. I just don't think it was proper English. And feel free, if you feel inclined, to comment or like the video. I think those things give the video greater circulation on YouTube, particularly if you think that the content is something that's going to benefit others. Thank you very much for your time. Just a few more days, you guys. I'm actually, as I said, I like to do the new moon videos after new moon, but maybe in this case, it's been worth it because it gives you a chance over the next 4 or 5 days to inhale or exhale, whichever you prefer to do, and just get yourself in a mind or a spirit so that as you head to Monday evening for me, Tuesday morning, I think for most of us, we're ready to go on a journey that takes us about 9.5 months. And of course, there'll be more videos to accompany us through that process. Okay, thanks. Take care.